Good evening and welcome. I call to order the Newman City Council regular meeting, November 12th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain stand for the invocation. You good?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. When they say justice for all, that means all. And I've been saying for the last 4 years that living in the city of Newman, coming from an urban city, that we're very, very blessed here in this city. I've watched things grow. I've watched people grow. I've watched the service people who serve the city and how they react. And I'll say this, and maybe for the last time you might hear from me, that Newman, not only are we blessed, you're the #1 city on the west side. We come here to take care of business. We pray that it says when 2 or more are gathered, Jesus Christ is in our presence. So each and every one of us, even our guests and people that serve this city, let's have an evening of serving the city of Newman. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman. Roll call.
Councilmember McDonald,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ball,
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Here.
Mayor Graham.
Any declarations of conflicts of interest tonight? Seeing none, move on. Items from the public, non-agenda items. Anybody wishing to speak to the public tonight, please go up to the podium and state your name and address and whatever you guys would like to talk about. No? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the October 22nd, 2024 meeting. D, adopt resolution 2024, next number, resolution authorizing overtime and portal-to-portal pay for employees. E, approve the Community Facilities District 23-1 SB 65 Local Agency Special Tax and Bond Accountability Act report for 24-25.
Second.
We have first and second, go and vote electronically. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 9, public hearings. Item A, first reading and introduction of ordinance 2024, next number, an ordinance amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, Section 11.05.040- of the Newman City Code, setting water rates, fees, and related service charges effective January 2025, and authorizing the city clerk to publish a summary of said ordinance.
Good evening, Newman residents, mayor, members of the council. On this agenda item, there are 5 things that we'll need to conduct tonight. The first is a preliminary count of the protests that we received up to this point. Then after that, the mayor will open a public hearing. At the end of the public hearing, the mayor will announce a last call for any written protests, and then we'll close public testimony. Once it's closed, we will count all the final tally and provide a report back to the council of how many were received. If there's no majority protest, in our particular case, according to California rules, we would need to receive 1,787 protests. If we don't receive that, the council may introduce by title the ordinance. So during the public hearing, the public is given time to comment on the proposed rates and the proposed ordinance. Verbal comments during the public hearing by California law do not count as a protest vote. For a protest vote to count, it must be written. If you didn't bring a written protest vote and you'd like to file one, there are blank forms on the back counter with pens that you can fill out. On the form, it asks for your parcel number. If you don't know what it is, your address will work fine. Only one protest vote per property is counted. After those who have wanted to speak have done so, the mayor will call for a final opportunity to turn in written protest votes. Once the mayor bangs the gavel, we can no longer receive votes. If a majority protest is recorded, the ordinance to change the rates cannot be introduced. Once the public hearing is closed, we'll count all the protest votes, provide a final count. Currently, we have received 103 protest votes. I know that we've got a couple extra ones here, which will give a final count when we're done. So, Mayor, if you would be so kind as to open a public hearing, and the public have a time to comment.
I'm going to open up to the public for anybody wishing to make comments.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Allen. I live at 1520 S Street here in town. I did register a protest vote on paper. I'm just here to tell you that while I can afford the raise in rates, we have a lot of people in town here that that's going to be a problem for. We have people that hardly get any money. If you like when you get $1,000 a month from Social Security, that's 1/10 of your income. And last December, I got a minimal bill, and it was $93 and something. So I know it's going to be at least $100. So I don't know if there's any way that you can offer anything to people of, low income means, because they're going to need it. Well, we all get these high PG&E bills, and when you add it all together, what do you eat? The PG&E bill. I mean, it's not good. Anyway, I had a question too. If this passes, what are we using the money for? Just in general.
If I may, the rates or the revenues that come in from the water rates can only be used to operate and maintain the water fund.
Right.
So we can't use it to pay for police, fire, streets, roads, parks, any other project. It has to stay in that fund and only be used for the operation of our water system.
I was just curious if you had any projects in mind or.
Yeah, so we do have some projects, and funding for those come from a couple different ways. If it's a maintenance or repair of our existing water system, so we've been around a while. We've got some old water lines and we have to replace them.
We definitely.
So the rates that our current residents pay go to fix and keep those maintained. They also go to replace old meters, water meters, and such. Other funding that comes in, say from developers, that goes to pay for new construction to support the new homes. So, for example, new areas going in south of us, there's water lines that come from there. They pay for that. And then sometimes we get grant monies, when we're lucky, to pay for some portion of the stuff we have to do. For example, in one case, we didn't get grant monies, but we got a 0% loan for 40 years, which I'd love to have in my house.
Yeah, really.
But we got that to pay for our well number 10, which has got a 1 million gallon storage tank, a nice well, water treatment. And that actually saved us probably $250,000 a year in interest by getting that 0% loan.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that is one of those projects that's kind of split between existing customers and future customers.
Okay.
Part of it, we were below capacity, but once we put that in, now we've got sufficient capacity. And then when new people come in, new homes are built, they pay for a piece of that as well.
And the other question I had is there anything coming up that's going to affect the city bill besides a water rate hike? I mean, outside of the fact for garbage.
Well, we have every other year. Garbage rates go up every other year.
Yeah, it already did.
Yeah, and then, or we obviously do sewer as well, and that'll probably be studied, and that'll probably come up at the end of 25, so.
Okay.
In about another year, that'll come up. We should make note that you brought up PG&E. Just our water, just for our water alone, we pay over $50,000 a month
Oh, I heard that.
just for energy costs, just for water.
Well,
So I mean, those are just some of the costs that
Oh, I understand. They're going to be, quadruple.
we all know what
anything
PG&E does to us. So, and then with the new state regulations, the state of California passed new state regulations on some water quality issues, which is going to require us to rehab one of our wells. We're estimating a minimum of $1.5 million probably to renovate that well.
They're never cheap. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I hope there's some way that you guys can come up with to help the people that are really needy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? No? Okay.
On Casey, you got one more.
Oh. Welcome. State your name and your address for the record.
Hello. Oh. Okay. Hello, my name is Aaron Salentine. I live at 1444 T Street. I said all. Newman, California 95360. Okay. And we did write in a protest vote. Well, because it's the address. Anyways, I'm just nervous. Sorry. Because for one, we hardly use any water. Like no water at all. Well, shower once a day, of course, but like for 5 minutes or 4. So it really isn't that much. And I know my mother doesn't use much. I'm just also wondering that maybe if the pipelines in the city are worn out too. I know it's more money to replace them, but don't get me wrong, I don't know where, because for us to, it shouldn't be the amount of water that we actually use. And I'm sure for a lot of people in this town, I don't know. This is my first time getting publicly into this. And the rates of everything go up every year. And like, my thing is like, when does it stop? To be honest. There's a lot of people hurting, and I don't want to regurgitate that like 60% of a lot of people's paychecks go just into paying their mortgages, and then they have hardly anything left for food or just the rent or other things they need, to be honest. And I just respectfully would like if all you here would find a way to just find ways to cut back, but also don't hurt this town, don't bleed it dry. No offense. I'm just being respectful on this. It's very disheartening to see. I give some of my paycheck to my mom to help pay bills. And I live with my parents. I used to live in Sacramento. I lost 70% of my paycheck for my rent. I didn't really live. And I'm 30. And I don't see a future even for me. And that's disheartening for me to say, but I know this is water protests, but it goes in hand with all that. So respectfully, please find a way. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Jack Bash, 630 Lady Slipper Lane. The water meter replacement on the water bill, on the utility bill. My house was built in 1979. So for all these years, they've been paying for a replacement. What exactly, how much does a meter cost? And is this actually just a rental fee for the meter?
No, it's not a rental fee. So what our city did was normally you've got two different types of costs. You have fixed costs that, every year are going to be the same. So for example, we took out the loan on the well. So our payment every year is going to be the exact same on that. So part of the rate, you'll notice that there's a base cost that's the same. We broke out the meter cost so that our residents will be able to see that what we are doing is collecting every month a little bit towards a meter because meters go bad after a while. Water deposits go in them. And I don't know if you know the way a meter works. It's got a little device that spins. When water goes through it, it spins around and it counts. When water's not moving, it stops. The problem is when a lot of deposits get built up in it,
And there's a lot of
it
deposits
slows-
in our water.
it slows down, so it doesn't count accurately. So every 10 years, those have to be replaced. The meter costs, as you mentioned, last year, we were paying about $240 a meter.
Okay.
This year, it's $500 a meter. The cost, with all the inflation and stuff, it started affecting the production of manufactured meters. So we have to raise that a little bit to be able, over those 10 years, to be able to collect enough to replace it.
So I've been in my house now for 12 years.
Okay.
And I am unaware of my meter being replaced. You mentioned every 10 years.
I can go back and look at our records. We do keep track of when it gets replaced, and we track the serial number of each of them. There's an MXU ID, which is the wireless number on it, so we'll know, we can tell you a date when everything got changed out. But we actually are going through a meter replacement program currently, which is going to end up being a cost-saving measure. By replacing with wireless meters, we can read the whole town much faster than having a full team of guys 9 days out walking the streets in front of every house, counting every meter. Yeah,
Thank you for your time, sir.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Mayor, it should also be known, we're very empathetic. Most of our citizens live here in town. In our water department, we have four employees in our water department. And if you think about that, 4 employees for nearly 4,000 water units or users, plus the miles and miles of pipelines, plus how many wells do we have, Thomas? 6? 5 wells on there too. So we run a pretty lean crew to maintain all that. And, since I've been here, we've never had a boil water notice. Some of our neighbors have had that on a pretty regular basis. And so, every time you turn your water on, it does come out clean. So we can empathize with people, and we are trying to keep our costs as low as possible.
Thank you for that. All right, I'll go and close the public hearing now. This will be the last chance for written protests. If anybody wants to write another written protest, if they haven't already, you can do that now. Then we go to counting.
Yep, so
All right. I don't see anybody coming up to do that, so we'll go ahead and count.
we take a short break if you guys like.
Yeah, we'll take a short break.
They're just being nice.
Right. But they say McDonald's. Oh.
All right, call the meeting back to order.
Okay, Mayor, we've done a final count. We have 105 protest votes, which falls short of the 1,767 that need to be received. It should be noted that 105 is approximately 2.8% of the number of possible votes. So a little over 97% did not file a protest vote. Since there was no majority received, the ordinance before you tonight is an introduction and first reading and can be presented by the council. And just for the public, a couple things you should note. One, your city water system is not a not-for-profit water system. So we don't have a board of directors, investors, stockholders that we're trying to appease with profits, which is a good thing for us. We just try and bring in sufficient amount of money to be able to keep our water system operating. And there are things that we discussed earlier that drive our costs. PG&E is one of them. They were probably the biggest increase. And like the city manager said, it's expensive. It's a big bill. The other one that drives it is insurance costs. So we have to pay for workers' compensation, liability, and it is expensive. A lot of cities have noted that recently, that their costs have shot way up, and we're in that same boat. We try and do things that save money. Like the city manager said, we try and keep small staff. We try and make them efficient as possible by putting in wireless meters. Once the city is fully covered with wireless meters, a single individual can read all of them within about a half a day, which is, whereas before it would take several guys about 9 days to do it. So it's a huge savings. And what that means is that as we continue to grow, we don't need to hire as many people to keep up with the demand. I mean, if we put in another 1,000 homes, we'd have to hire a bunch of guys to hand read those. But now we can just have a single guy in a vehicle drive past them and it picks them all up quickly. So by doing things like that, we're able to keep our costs as low as possible. But then again, the things that drive it are, like when we do these studies to find out what our costs are going to be over the next 6 years, we have to have sufficient rates to match because we all want to get up in the morning and turn on the shower and make sure it's working. And other than that, so Mayor, I'll leave it up to you to introduce the ordinance.
Well, I'll bring it back to the council, and so I'll start off. I'd like to say I know our staff runs a very fiscal, conservative program when it comes to spending the taxpayers' money. They try to run very efficiently, as Lou had mentioned, and trying to do things properly. The sad reality is things have shot up in cost so much, just the meters have doubled in costs, costs, insurances, and everything. So as he said, it's not a for-profit. One of the complaints I heard was when the new build comes in that they get that they're not paying for their thing. They pay separately with impact fees to actually they buy into the water system that's already here. So new homes buy in, they have to pay a certain amount of fees to be able to even connect to the water lines to begin with. So those fees aren't being spent. The money from the waters, your payments aren't being spent on new build for them to buy into the system. They buy in on their own, I mean. So one thing I would like, Lou, is for us to look at putting in something in place for low income. If we can do something that by the next meeting.
Absolutely. What we can do is we'll bring it in, and if the ordinance passes at the second meeting, we'll have a resolution ready that we could present that.
I appreciate that.
Mayor, on this low income, on some things you have to file income tax. After you go on Social Security, you don't have to file income tax. So is there another way besides having to show your income tax, for low income?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was talking with our staff about that. Before we were using the 1040 forms and the 940, and along with PG&E's program, the CARES program, I think they call it, they've actually developed theirs to, if people are on certain welfare programs, to use that as qualification. So one of the things that we're going to look at is if that would work for us as well, to be able to just follow those qualifications. And if that's the case, then we'll present it in that manner.
Yeah. And I know times are tough, but we have to be able to maintain clean water and the deliverability of it within the city for the people. So, council, anything?
Yeah, Madam Commissioner and any other seniors in here, this is something that I've been fighting for a very long time in terms of making sure that our seniors here in the city of Newman get help in terms of prices that they're faced with on a monthly basis. And I think it's very important that we do have a program set in place for our seniors. You know, whether it has to do with utilities or garbage or anything, that we need to have a program to assist them. So I'm glad to see that our service people, Lou, city manager and clerk, that they are looking into ways that we can help our seniors. Because I think that if we're going to be a surviving city, that we need to take care of our people here.
Anybody else?
Repercussions for the city if we do not raise rates? Are we looking at cuts elsewhere potentially?
At some point, yeah, so we only propose a rate structure that covers our cost and with a little bit of a reserve. So we have a little bit of reserve, but at some point those reserves get eaten up, and then you have to go into the general fund and start utilizing general fund monies to supplant and support the water fund. If you're not, as you know, the general fund goes to pay for public services, police, fire, recreational opportunities, and the like. So at some point, then those services would be cut.
Thank you.
And what's the cost to replace a well if one goes down, roughly?
Our last well and tank, we spent $9 million.
So we do have to have a reserve and a set money in there in case something bad happens. And more regulations are coming down from the state that are putting more restrictions on us.
Correct. And so, and then if this ordinance does pass, so what it does is it sets the rates at what the maximum level would be for each year. And we'll continue to apply for grants. And if we are successful, that may allow the council to then go back at a future date and not raise to the maximum.
All right, I'll bring it to council for action. Anybody?
Okay. I move to approve the first reading and introduction of ordinance number 2024, an ordinance amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, Section 11-05-040 of the Newman City Code, setting water rates, fees, and related service charges effective January 9, 2024. Should that be 2025?
Yes.
2025 then, and authorizing the city clerk to publish a summary of said ordinance.
I'll second.
We have first and second, go and vote. Motion carries 4-0. Item number B, first reading and introduction of ordinance 2024, next number, an ordinance approving the Meadows Ranch subdivision Phase 2 development agreement.
Thank you, council. At your last meeting, you approved the ordinance, general plan amendment and rezoning for the Meadows Ranch Phase 2. Meadows Ranch Phase 2 is a residential subdivision of 42 lots that's immediately adjacent to Meadows Ranch 1 right now. Again, it's 6.2 acres, 42 lots. There'll be a half-acre park in there with 2 pickleball courts that are going to be on there. One of the other main improvements is Meadows Ranch Drive will then extend all the way out to Highway 33, providing residents on our south side access from Prince Road all the way to Highway 33 instead of having to go all the way out to Inyo or over to Sanchez. So there'll be a new way into that area as this project develops. What we're proposing tonight is a development agreement. A development agreement for that project would extend that project from 2 years to 7 years. Give the developer a little bit more time to, go through housing cycles if necessary. In return for that, there's some additional conditions and fees on Exhibit C that the developer has agreed to pay. And those would be funds that the city council would use at their discretion, provided they are not subsidizing another project. Potential projects could be the Veterans Plaza that the council wants to move forward with, the Nature Park project, supplement on there. And I think any other project that would benefit the entire community, it is called a community benefit fee. So whatever other projects that the council sees fit to use those for. So tonight we ask that you first conduct a public hearing. And then after that, we ask that you can introduce and conduct the first reading of the ordinance approving the Meadows Ranch subdivision development agreement.
So with that, I'll open up for the public for any comments. All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Any comments or? No? I'll bring it back to council for action.
I move we adopt the first reading and introduction of ordinance number 2024, an ordinance approving the Meadows Ranch subdivision Phase 2 development agreement.
I'll second that.
We have first and second. Motion carries 3-1. Item number 10, regular business. Adopt resolution 2024 next number, resolution authorizing the city manager or director of public works to execute a voluntary contribution agreement with the Valley Water Collaborative for support efforts related to the Nitrate Control Program Management Zone.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the public. We're asking for you to authorize the city manager or the director of public works, myself, to enter into a voluntary contribution agreement with the Valley Water Collaborative, and that will allow for us to be part of that collaborative to comply with a nitrate control program compliance letter we got from the state. And so that allows for us to be part of a collaborative that we can share costs and responsibilities to ensure clean drinking water for wells that are within the Delta Mendota Basin, along with other basins in the area are joining this Valley Water Collaborative. And there's two pathways, Pathway A and Pathway B. Pathway A is a much more expensive pathway where you can go at an individual agency to work with the state. Many of the people that start down that pathway then choose to go down Pathway B. And that's where Pathway B allows for us to join this collaborative. And so fiscal impact, we're estimating, depending on the number of other agencies that join the collaborative, to be not to exceed approximately $3,000 for the next 2 years. The year of 2024, we have to pay to, for this year, and then 2025. Some expectations as we move forward is that those costs may go up slightly based on the requirements after an action plan is developed by the Valley Water Collaborative. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions?
So can you go a little bit deeper into this nitrate control program? Like, is that for, since you're going to be with several different agencies, what would be our part? Are they coming here checking our stuff? And if so, how often?
The Valley Water Collaborative will collect the data from all the member agencies within the basins. And that's part of the cost, is the consultants will gather this information and reduces the amount of input the city staff has to develop these reports, because those reports are already submitted to the state. Okay. So that data that's collected quarterly, annually on our drinking water wells within the city is submitted to the state, and then that data is used along with other agencies and other industries within the basin to determine what the nitrate levels are within in our case, the Delta Mendota Basin. However, it's a very similar program across other basins, and they're called Priority 2 basins. And so those costs can be shared between all the basins at a base level, and then the various individual basins will require, depending on the quality of the water from drinking water wells, can help supplement clean drinking water initially. That's the initial step. And eventually determining ways to implement treatment and reduce the loading that dischargers to the basin, reduce the loading of nitrates.
So it's the nitrates are checked quarterly here? Is what you're saying?
Yes. For our drinking water wells, they're quarterly, and our discharge out at the wastewater plant, those are monthly nitrate. Both there's water quality wells, and then our discharge itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? All right. I'll go and bring you back to council for action.
Move we adopt Resolution 2024, resolution authorizing the city manager or director of public works to execute a voluntary contribution agreement with the Valley Water Collaborative for support efforts related to the nitrate control program management zone.
I'll second it.
And first and second, go and vote.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Thomas. All right. Items from the city manager and staff. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple of things. I think Thomas might expand a little bit about it, but we're excited. The news project is nearing completion. We're getting to a phase where we're going to start doing some plantings. I think we probably got about substantial number of 200 trees to plant out there and a lot of plants to go. So, but once the news project is out there, I think it's going to be a real community benefit. We're at 60% of the nature park plans. So we're looking at that'll be constructed in starting in 2025, probably ending in 2026. And as you know, we're going to probably have, almost 2 miles of trails through a nature park that people can get out and exercise. There'll be exercise stations out there. There'll be a playground for kids. It's a pretty exciting project that we have. And this is probably 75-80% grant funded. So far we've received just over $10 million in grant money to do that project. So I'm very excited about bringing that project online. Speaking of grants, started filling out paperwork in 2023, and then they went dark, and I never heard from them again. And just recently, the state surfaced again when they're going to give us $65,000 for that housing element that you just adopted. And so they're going to reimburse us for that. So that's a good thing. As you know, the elections are moving through. We believe that the county clerk will certify theirs on December 3rd, which means that your next meeting, which is going to be December 10th. And you guys have all been working hard. We're going to give you Thanksgiving week off, not have a meeting there. So at your next meeting on December 10th, we will certify the elections and seat any new members. Obviously, we have a vacant seat that's definitely going to be filled on there as well. And then just after that, just want to thank all of our veterans and wish you a happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service. And I can answer any questions you may have, Mayor.
Speaking of veterans, since you brought it up, the Veterans Memorial, when are we going to go forward with looking into that more?
Yeah, so we have the proposal for the design, but it's the same people that are designing Nature Park right now. So
They're done.
we're working on getting them to focus on that. And then we're going to shift gears and we'll move on to the Veterans Plaza over there. So probably in spring of 25, we hope to bring a proposal to you for you to authorize a design. And then if we use spring and then hopefully in early 26, you can award a contract to bid that project. I don't think it's going to be, maybe 90, 120 day project. So should be constructed in 26.
Thank you.
Allie?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the community. I just want to give some feedback on Trunk or Treat. It was a great night. We had a lot of community members out there. We wanted to thank the businesses, community members that had candy for our community, the school district, the Newman Resource Center, and just all of our community for being such an overwhelmingly happy and giving back community to our children. With that, we are turning pages into Christmas. Our Christmas tree lighting is December 7th. We'll hope to see all of our community members there, as well as our council there. With that, I can answer any questions that y'all may have.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Richardson?
Evening, Mayor, council members, members of the public. We don't get to say that very often. That's why we're all saying it. I didn't have much for you tonight, but Bree wanted to be here, but she's feeling a little under the weather. So she asked me to give you a report from October on our shelter. The shelter started with 6 cats and 13 dogs. Over the month, they took in 57 cats. 4 of those were adopted out. 46 were under the trap and release program that we have a grant for. They also took in 20 stray dogs. 9 were adopted, 8 were returned to owner, 3 were sent to rescues, 1 escaped, and 2 were euthanized. So, yeah, we had 1. They get out every once in a while, so we just catch them again. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Well, our auditors have, well, I can't say completed because they say it's never over, but they're pretty satisfied with our books. They sent me a draft financials today, so we'll be ready to present that at our next meeting, along with the second reading of the ordinance. Again, if anybody has any questions about anything that the city does financially, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to talk about it, so probably more than you want to hear, but yeah. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Lou. Thomas?
Good evening again. As Michael said, the news project is nearing completion. We should be starting to plant towards the end of the year. In addition to the nature park trails, there will be pedestrian pathways within that new system. And then Nature Park is, as Michael said, in 60. We're reviewing for 60%, and as Ali said, with the Christmas tree lighting, Public Works staff has been diligently putting up various decorations, the lights. We're planning for the 2 trees to be decorated during the week of December 2nd, in time for that, December 7th. And so if you have any questions.
Thank you, Thomas. Chief Owen?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, community. It's holiday season, so I just want to remind you, holiday safety. Please make sure you have fire extinguishers in your home. Make sure they're working, they're in the green, you know how to use them. There are instructions on the side of them. Just want to remind you to also check your smoke detectors. Make sure you have new batteries in them. You're testing them on a regular. Be careful while using candles in your home. Also, if you're going to be frying your turkey, be very careful. Don't put any hot coals in your barbecue. Let them sit out for a while. If you need to, use some water and cool them down. And I can answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pro Tem?
I can't do it, man. It's going to be hard coming in here the next 2 years and not having you by our side. So appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you, brother. You're welcome. That's all I have.
Well, let me just follow up and say this. For 2 terms, that's up to 8 years, sitting here at council, I moved from the Bay Area, San Francisco, and brought some big ideas down here. And when I got here, man, they looked at me like I was crazy. This guy from the big city bringing all these ideas down here. We're a small town. But let me say this. There was a gentleman that told me about slow growth. And I had to think about, what is this guy talking about slow growth? But I've been able to understand what that gentleman was talking about and have embraced it everywhere I go. And I talk about Newman. It's slow growth. And let me say this, is that we have just brilliant people working for us. I can look at the chief, Lou, your mother, my sister, Kathy, Chief, and every one of my colleagues that's sitting up here, the mayor, me and the mayor are what they call the seniors of this council. But I learned to work, very closely with them. I built a relationship with our city manager, Mr. Harlan, and that he keeps me laughing. He keeps a smile on my face. And that I'm a 49er fan and he's a Seattle fan, so when they win, I still smile. But saying all that, even Mike Meyer, who lives down the street from me, we build relationships to the point where when we see each other, it's about smiles and laugh and how are you doing. But I say that to say this. I have no regrets in reference to not being elected this term around. Sometimes we need fresh air and we need new ideas. And for a very long time, I've been wishing for a woman to sit on this council. And I think that the city of Newman elected a woman. And I just told my colleague, you look out for her and take care of her and make sure that she's being respected. And I said that to say that I will not be too far away. I live here in Newman, so that means that I'm going to be doing a lot of work on the outside for this city. But I thank each and every one of you and my colleagues here for putting up with me. And just look forward to me bringing money into this town, that's for sure. Thank you.
I got something from Mr. Alanis. How can, next time you come, is there a possible that you can pass a message about how we can help get involved in stopping the carb tax going to our fuel? Since we were talking about water at our issue here at the state level with the 65-cent raise per gallon of gas, that's going to impact a lot of people. Is there a way we can get information at the state level?
Absolutely. Thanks for the shout out. I don't know if you guys know this, but election night is about 30 days long in the state of California. So when you called for public comment, I was getting a flurry of information from some of the other counties that are providing information. So I provide you, grateful you guys give me a little bit of a shot up here. So in reference to the gas tax that you're talking about, the roughly 70 cents a gallon that we spend per every time we fill up our tank. The fact of the matter is it comes down to the supermajority in the legislature. It has been offered at least a suspension or a tax holiday a number of times over the past 2 years with the great amount of inflation we're seeing, not just in the state of California, but nationwide. And despite the economic impacts that we're seeing this time around, the ruling party in the state legislature has no desire to make any changes to the current taxes and will continue to raise them until we, quite frankly, make changes in the balance of power in the state legislature. So
I think what he's talking about is not necessarily the taxes, because the taxes are fixed. It's the California Air Resource
the
Board.
CARB taxes. I was saying CARB, I thought you were referring to like fuel.
For those that don't know, the California Air Resource Board puts more and more stringent regulations on refineries and that are going to cost an increase of fuel in California to go up by about 70 cents a gallon in 2025 and 2026. And they introduced regulations, I believe, last year or the year before that caused it to go up about 30 cents, 37 cents. So that's $1 of new, but the way they get around it is they increase regulations, so it looks like it's that costs the companies more money, which it makes it look like they're raising the rates, but it's actually a tax on us through
absolutely
through
yes.
regulation.
So you're referring to the recent hearing from Friday on CARB,
correct?
That ended in a 13-2 vote in favor of more regulations. Conveniently, 3 days after the election, not before, right? Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I was once told that CARB is the most powerful unelected board west of the Mississippi, and that's just how it is. I think that it has seriously caught the attention of the legislature, really how much power that CARB has. And we are hoping that we can start, in a similar way, regain some control of legislating, doing the job of the legislature, which is to impose these regulations rather than CARB. I think it's definitely caught the attention of the members. Every time, though, I would say in the last 2 to 4 years, as long as the assemblyman's been in office, every attempt to reel in CARB has effectively been stymied, even to the point of requesting appeals. Even there's some legislation pushed last year in the Senate allowing for appeals, specifically for municipalities and their fleets, allowing them to appeal for certain types of vehicles, and especially in emergency situations. That bill was not even heard.
Yeah, so what I understand, a lot of people don't understand that this was not a bill that was voted on. It's
No.
automatically given out, and they could raise it at any time. But enough is enough. Like we heard earlier today, our water rate going up is small compared to this. The amount of profit that they're going to make per day alone is crazy. And it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially here on the west side, that have to drive to Modesto for appointments and stuff. And when we're on fixed incomes, I have 2 seniors with me. They do it all the time. And it's going to be a dent.
Yeah, to my understanding, one refinery has already planned to leave the state of California by this year, and a second by the end of next year. So that's going to really impact our the availability of oil and gas here in the state of California. Like, it's not bad enough. And our neighbors are very upset too. The states of Nevada and Arizona have definitely are definitely concerned by the regulations being placed by CARB. And I'll definitely get the message across Mr. Alanise's desk and see what we can do from a legislative standpoint. With that being said, we are actively building our legislative package for the following term. The Assemblyman's grateful for the support that he got in his district this time around, and we encourage members of the public, get to say that. It's really exciting. Been coming for 2 years. First time I got to say that. And as well as from the stakeholders and, of course, the members of the council. That's a great one. Trying to reel in CARB is definitely a priority that we're considering. But anything that we can do to help. Some of the Assemblyman's most proud moments in the legislature are passing bills that came from people in our district. You guys probably remember talking about Nevaeh's youth sports stack back in 2023. He's the most proud of. That came from a family in our district who was going through something. We were able to name a bill in her memory and potentially save lives for children in our district. So if you do have serious ideas that you're willing to present to us, we're willing to do the research, get into the nitty gritty, and see how we can help our constituents.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
No.
So, Councilman McDonald, you at least got a half another meeting. You got to be here next time for at least part of it.
Right, yeah.
We appreciate your service and your dedication to the city. It's meant a lot, and your friendship to us has been outstanding. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for everybody that came here today. We appreciate you guys. Your concerns in that, they are felt by us. We're, like he said, he has elderly at home too. And we understand, and we try to keep things as fiscally conservative as we can and keep the city moving forward. I would also like to wish everybody it's day after, but happy Veterans Day. We thank everybody for their service, and without that, we wouldn't have this great country. With that, I ask for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
First, second?